everyone, and welcome to the 9th episode of Slime Time, the official Dragon Quest Dragon's Den podcast. This is one of your hosts, Plattym3.
And this is one of your other hosts, Liamland. So, UG Hori was in New York recently. In a recent tweet, he posted some photos from New York City where he stated what he stated was a business trip. So here's the official hodgepodge Google translation of that original Japanese post. I am in New York, a 3-day, 5-day bullet business trip.
You know, those 3-day, 5 days bullet business trips can be pretty rough.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but it's pretty cold.
It's true. From what I saw, it was snowing there when he was there.
Yep, and this is the part that's I found most interesting. The uncle was so shiny that I could only touch it.
I mean, I hate it when naked uncles are so shiny you can only touch them, but I really think that was a weird translation.
Yeah, I'm sure that was
something he was talking about. Yeah, there was a statue he posted of a heavyset naked man somewhere, probably nearby where he was staying, so probably had to do with that, but love the translation.
But yeah, that ultimately the takeaway was he was here on business. We don't know what business, and there's been no activity from Square Enix marketing or evidence that any of the marketing team was in New York at all. So we're left with wondering and waiting for a new 2020 announcement.
Any idea what it might mean?
I'd like to think he was scouting locations for a possible DQ Walk release. He went to Jazz Standard, a jazz club on East 27th Street. I don't know, maybe he hit a golem in the bathroom there or something.
Ooh, man, I'd hate to walk into that bathroom without a fairy flute. Okay. And on that note, okay, so two people we don't need to play the fairy flute to get rid of. We've got two guests today. They are regulars at the Dragon's Den. We'd like to welcome to today's podcast DrippySlimeStar and Matt Craft. And Ryu.
Hello.
And Matt Craft, you recently, I guess over the past few years, you changed your name to Ryu.
It was the other way around from Ryu to Matt Craft, but it's still the same on the den.
It went back because in one of the dens, we had a problem like a year and a half ago in April where some of the backup got lost for a couple weeks, and I think that's when you went back to Ryu. So...
okay. That was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah. I want to say it was like a year ago, April. But either way, you might have seen him post there over the years as either one of those. But hey, right away, guys, what do you think Hori might have been doing in New York City?
I mean, I think it's definitely walk. Yuji Hori, if anything, he would go to Los Angeles to like go meet up with Square Enix. So it's really weird. He's on the East Coast for business and. Yeah. You know, with New York having all those sites and stuff like that, kind of like Pokestops for Pokemon Go. Yeah, I mean, that's just what I thought was definitely DQ Walk.
Well, what if he was just trying to find a place to put another Luida's bar?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Oh, man, that'd be cool. Liam, my wife and I would be coming back up next summer.
Yeah, I'd be there every day.
I'd be going up to New York if that was the case.
Yeah.
And we're all sure he stopped by the Nintendo store to pick up some merchandise.
Probably.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
He didn't post any photos of that, but yeah.
None of you think that, Dragon Quest of the Stars is a big enough reason to come to New York?
That's kind of already in the works, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already getting it, I think.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, the beta finished up.
Unless those fucking Canadians, they ruined everything for us, and now we're not going to get it. They all screwed up the beta, and sorry, we're now canceling. Canada ruined it. Blame Canada. We can just go right back to South Park.
Right.
You hear that, Canada? We don't like you.
Yeah, just like that. Like 5 minutes before we started this, we're like, should we curse on this podcast? And Platy just sealed the deal.
Well, there we go. How many minutes into this did we? It lasted 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, everyone.
So Drippy, I had the pleasure of meeting you at this year's PAX East. And
yeah, I'd like to apologize for being so awkward. That's just kind of how I am. I still haven't gotten over it, but yeah,
I did not notice that at all. you were busy.
Yeah, I had some friends with me, and but it was nice to meet you and Westy, and take a picture with you guys. It was great.
Yeah, it was great seeing Westy there too.
Yeah, if you come back out, for 2020, we can definitely meet up again.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I completely understand that you had like when you're there with a group of people at any con, it's like hard enough to meet up because everyone wants to do their own thing. But like when you do get that group that like wants to stay together, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So, and Matt and I co-hosted an episode of Slime Time during its second incarnation with Denizen, who went by the name of Tesla. Now, I don't think he still goes by that name, but at the time he was Tesla, and that ultimately ended up getting lost in the editing process and was actually never produced that episode.
Whoa. You already hosted a Slime Time episode with another Matt? Wow. You've got to type.
Yeah. This is not the first time. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Platty.
Oh, man.
So there is a lost episode of Slime Time version 2 out there about Dragon Quest 2. If we ever have Tesla on someday, we can always ask him about how that's coming along. It was about 5 years ago, though, so my mic probably sucks worse than it does on the Slime Time episodes 1 and 2.
Ooh, is that even possible?
Well,
Okay, enough cracking on
like
Liam.
an iPad microphone or something like that.
What's that?
Wasn't that like an iPad microphone or something like that? You do sound much better now, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, the first 2 episodes I had my wife's DJ headphones, which were like these old beat-up headphones that she used to use when she was a DJ in Japan. And she was just going to throw them out. And I was like, oh, these are pretty cool headphones. I'll take them. And then I beat them up even more, and they eventually started sounding like that, I guess.
Don't beat up your wife's stuff. Take that as a lesson from Liam.
Yeah. All right.
Enough about us. So Drippy and Ryu, we're gonna start with your 10 questions before we get to tonight's main event. We will be talking about Dragon Quest 3 here in a little bit, but first let's get to know you guys a little bit better. Drippy, you can start, and when you're done, we'll let Ryu go into this one. But Drippy, how did you get into Dragon Quest as a series?
So, Dragon Quest, it's kind of a 3-part thing for me. I remember on my 9th birthday, I got my teal Game Boy Color with Pokemon Yellow and Super Mario Land 6 Golden Coins, and my first copy of Dragon Warrior 3 for Game Boy Color. More on the second copy later. I didn't really get too much into it, because I was kind of a stupid kid, didn't really understand JRPGs, and for other reasons, my copy of Dragon Warrior 3 was taken. So, a couple years ago, I was sitting at work, and I was thinking about Dragon Warrior 3 on the Game Boy Color, and I'm like, man, I really want to play that again. So I bought a copy on eBay. Never really got into it, but I ended up buying 4, 5, and 6 and 9 on the DS, but it wasn't really until 7 and 8 came out on the 3DS, and it was 8 that really got me back into the series. I played it in 2017, before 11 arrived and stuff like that, and yeah, it's been going ever since. I just started up 7, and that's the last one I got to play to finish off the main series.
Nice.
That's a long one.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's a long game. You'll be
Oh yeah, that's what.
Oh yeah, no, not your response. I mean the game itself. Like you're probably gonna take some time with that one.
Yeah, I cleared my schedule for it. Make sure that I give my full attention to it.
There you go. And Ryu, how'd you get into Dragon Quest?
Well, mine's going to sound a little bit cliche, but it was thanks to my Mima. She got me my first Game Boy, Tetris, Dragon Quest 1 and 2, right when it came out. And I got into Dragon Quest further on from there through breaking my first Game Boy because I decided that I wanted to join the Dragon Lord. And my Mima was asking me, well, why did you want to join the bad guy? And I said, well, he offered me half the world. I don't see how that could be that bad. I still have the princess in my arms and everything.
Well, maybe you had the foresight of knowing that you would be creating the world of Dragon Quest Builders.
Yeah, I guess it's thanks to you that we have builders now, so thanks for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But right after that, she gave me my Christmas present early, which was a Pokemon Yellow Game Boy Color and a copy of Dragon Quest 3 and, of course, Pokemon Yellow. So,
Nice.
From there, I actually kind of forgot about the series for a while because, we didn't get Dragon Quest 5 and all that on the Super Nintendo. Then when I was in high school, I emulated it all, and then I eventually just started buying the DS releases and so on, so forth from there. Mobile forever.
You are the mobile proponent on the Den, big time.
Hmm.
So, what is your favorite game in the series, Ryu? Since you were just gone, let's start with you.
Honestly, 5. I think with its darker storyline and the fact that if you want to think about it, I think it came out before Pokemon, so it kind of created the monster catching thing.
Yeah, no,
So-
definitely. Between that, I've heard that, and like some of the original Shin Megami series had some
Mhm.
monster taming in it as well.
Hmm. So basically, you could pretty much create your own party as the game went along, and no spoilers, but the hero ain't nothing compared to a golem.
Yeah, Gollum's pretty solid.
Hmm.
Pretty solid monster to have in your party. What about spin-offs?
Honestly, I've always liked the Mystery Dungeon series with Tornado.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
So yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually playing Dragon Warrior Monsters right now because that's a series that I never really got into, and I'm going through the maps and stuff on the Game Boy Color. I'm kind of missing that whole Torneko styled game.
sadly,
Um,
that's
com-
something you really have to emulate.
What's that?
Or
The
Torneko?
Tornado. Yeah.
No, I mean I still have my PS1 disc for that.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the
Yep.
sequels on PlayStation.
I forgot that was on the PlayStation.
Yeah. I think Platty and I we went through a hodgepodge translation that wasn't completely finished for Torneko 1 for Super Famicom.
Mhm.
It was playable, but like kind of just barely.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it the best thing ever. It
We'll
wasn't
have-
like, wow, they nailed this one.
We'll have
It-
we'll have those translators on the podcast someday and just ask them.
Crap.
So-
Well, I hope
What
they don't
the
listen
hell?
to this episode.
But all right, Drippy, what about your favorite game in the series?
So yeah, 3 is my favorite. I've said it many times in the Den. I don't think it's the best Dragon Quest game. I think that's 11, but 3 just is my favorite. Nostalgic reasons, I think. It was one of the first games I ever got. Yeah, it's just 3 is my favorite.
Yeah, I can understand that. It also set it set the standard for a lot in the series.
Yeah, you see a lot of callbacks to it, and that's every time I see a callback to it in one of the other games, I get a pretty big smile because I'm like, ooh, that's from 3, and get all excited and stuff. So
Yeah, and even 3 calls back to like the earlier games.
exactly, yeah, they all kind of go into each other.
What about spin-offs?
So yeah, I haven't really played a lot of the spin-offs. I mean, I have Joker 1 and 2. I have the PS1 Torneko game, and I played the hero games and Monsters. I mean, I haven't really gotten into the spin-offs, so I can't really think of a favorite because I haven't put more than probably an hour into any of them.
Have you tried Builders at all?
Oh yeah, Builders 1 and 2 actually. Duh. Yeah, the first one I didn't really get into, and the second I got to the second main island, and I just kind of fell off it. I know on the Den we had that Dragon Quest Builders 2 Progress, where we were all kind of talking about it when it came out, and yeah, I hadn't played it since. But those are pretty fun. I like those as well.
Yeah, I especially like going on to the Facebook group for the builders and just seeing all of this amazing stuff that everyone builds there that I would never be able to even think of. I can't even think that way.
And it's
But
like
there's
the
some
main.
really
Sorry, go ahead.
amazing architects and artists on that Facebook page that do some really amazing work.
Yeah, and
All
I
of you
like-
in that Facebook group that play the drinking game that goes along with Slime Time, now's your time to drink. Liam has mentioned your group. You don't have to wait till the end. Start doing shots now.
Okay.
I didn't think
I
that was
will.
a thing, but apparently it is.
I think we've brought that up pretty much every episode, but it is cool. It's a really cool group. If whether you're creative or you're into dirt castles like Liam and I,
I could whip up an amazing dirt castle.
yeah, you can either be amazed or just be like, "Holy cow, I will never do that."
Yeah.
So sorry, Drippy.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say the official Dragon Quest Facebook page. I think it's Friday. They have this fan creations and stuff like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
stuff that they show there, it's like, dude, that's insane.
Yeah, I think that's something that Mishi had started, where she just grabs like a what do they call it, fan build Friday or something like that.
Yeah, I know they tie that tie Friday into it somehow.
Yeah, which is there's always great work to pull from that group. Like there's the one guy who built the entire map of Link to the Past.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at that. I think there's a YouTube series or video about it too. I haven't watched much of it, but it's insane the stuff that people can do.
Yeah, I mean they build these gigantic castles and mansions, and one guy even built the Starship Enterprise. Because you can place blocks in the middle of the sky if you create your own platform to reach it, and then
then you can just
it's just kind of floating there.
Yep.
But
all right, Drippy, we'll continue with you. Here, do you have a favorite character in the games you played in the series?
Yeah, I really enjoyed 4, and everybody in 4 was really fun to be around. But my favorite was definitely Torneko. Just this big, goofy looking merchant. It really sucks that he's not that good of a fighter. So I never really had him in my team, but it was nice just having his company alongside us.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the better ones. In terms of humor and just being an awesome party member.
I mean, he got 3 of his own games, so he must have been doing something right.
That exactly. He was popular enough to start his own series there.
Yep.
And Ryu, what's one of your favorite characters?
Well, my thunder just got stolen because I was going to say Torneko Taloon as well. So
Sorry about that.
that's okay. No, there's no thunder. We can all share the thunder.
But if not Torneko, then I'm going to have to honestly say the hero from 1. I mean, if you think about it, the only thing he has to his name at the beginning of the game is he's the descendant of Loto. I'm just going to say Loto because it's easier right now. And eventually, by the end of the game, you even have the option of holding the princess in your arms, going all the way to the Dragon Lord and kicking his ass.
Yeah.
So, from a bamboo sword and stick to the revered legendary weapons and armor of your ancestor. Come on, dude's a powerhouse. He can go through the entire game by himself. He don't need no friends.
Well, technically speaking, he is only doing one-on-one fights with monsters, but yeah, definitely that there's a lot of replay value in that first game. That's probably one of the games I've replayed the most just because it's so short, but it's also so classic.
It really is.
So any characters that rub you the wrong way?
Let me think. This is going to sound weird, but Maya and Mina, the twins from Dragon Quest IV.
Yep.
It's...
Are you talking NES version, or are we talking the Heroes and DS remake or mobile remake?
The mobile remake, because
Party
I used them, but for some reason they just always rub me the wrong way. I don't like twins in general, they just creep me out. It's like they're starting their sentences and ending them at the same time, and you're going, oh god, no, they're going to get me.
Oh yeah, like the twins from Cobra.
Yep.
G.I. Joe.
Veronica and Serena, at least one is short.
Yeah, and Veronica's one of the best characters in the whole series, so there's that.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Oh god.
Did it creep you out in the CGI scenes where Veronica's big?
Yes. Oh my god. I'm looking at it like, wait a minute, what? And then at the end of it, wait a minute, why did she stay tall? Why don't I get an outfit for that? Come on.
I don't think I'd want her to stay tall, because I see that and I'm like, I'm all set with never seeing that again.
Drippy, how about you? Sorry,
I was gonna say I'm surprised there is no, spoilers a little bit here. They never added anything for her to age up, really. That was something.
Again?
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like with Dragon Quest VII. You would think at some point in the remake they would have Yeah, I mean, they gave a little tiny 5-minute nod to Kiefer later on, but
Yeah.
the big rumor was that Kiefer would be playable again at some point in the remake, and they never did. But it's a solid design choice both times, and they stuck with it, and props to them.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
even in 9, you have a character. I won't spoil it, but in 9, there's a character who dies in the plot, but you get him if you unlock the appropriate quests. You can get him back.
Yeah.
So, very kind of Kiefer-ish moment. That's one of the things I always thought was missing from 7, because he is such a great character, and then he's gone.
So you're telling me he's not going to stick around in my party? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think he's even gone before. Well,
He does leave pretty early. I do remember that.
Your first
He
playthrough.
just-
Yeah.
No, he's there forever, I'm sure. All right, moving on. So characters that rub you the wrong way besides people who give you spoilers.
Not so much. I mean, so yeah, I have in my notes Kiefer, though I haven't played much of 7 anyways. But it sounds like I really won't have to worry about him. I would say probably Nevin.
Maybe.
Yeah, Nevin.
Oh, Nevin,
It's not even. Nevin's just a little dork, and his only use is to sit in my cart and use his MP to heal up my team in a dungeon. Because Millie's better. Millie's a better Nevin. And I don't know. I don't like how Nevin looks. I don't like how he acts. He's just really...
he's a pretty strange design.
I didn't, going back to when I first played on an emulator ages ago. I didn't really know what he was supposed to be. I didn't know what his head was supposed to look like.
I actually didn't know what gender he was.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure I did either. I was like, this is just some sort of whack job, not strong, random person that's joining my party. The second I could, you were, like you said,
Right.
in the wagon, healing people, and that was it.
Yep.
So,
You know,
all right. Go ahead, Ryu.
I've got one for ones that rub me the wrong way. Carol from Dragon Quest IV.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah.
Platy's favorite character.
He totally should have acted on his feelings.
Oh, all right. So for character reasons.
Yeah.
And
like,
had a duty. Didn't let it get in his way.
he never freaking acted on his feelings with Elena. And it just killed me. It's like, I like Elena, but I don't know what to do. Ask her out, you.
I think that's why he's a great metaphor for so many of us.
I'll drink
Exactly.
to that.
But I mean, I love that guy. But I have a question: was that plot line at all in the NES version?
I think it was.
I never played the NES version. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think there were allusions to it that he had a crush on her, but again, there's no party chat in that. So, but I think isn't there a bookshelf or there's something where you find a diary and it's written by him?
I
think
they're
that's
very
pretty.
maybe.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and that'll be my next playthrough of that game. Will be replaying the NES version.
If it ever ends up on Nintendo Switch Online, I will definitely play it.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, we got the first 3. You never know.
Well, it's not on the Switch yet, but I think it might be.
Maybe that's what Hori was doing in New York.
Shoot. Put
Promoting the NES remake of.
just put that up as the next contest for Lightspeed Champion.
Oh, contests. They've so diminished in the years. Sorry about that, everyone. All right, well, getting.
I mean, the ones that we still do, they're really fun. So.
All right, so speaking of really fun stuff, Maria, we'll start with you here. What are your favorite game mechanics in Dragon Quest games? What do you look for? The ones with job classes, or what are some of the favorite things you look for in a DQ game?
I'm going to be honest. I like casinos.
Yes.
I like the
I'm
idea,
playing right now.
especially early on in the game. I've always liked being able to break it. Like the casinos, the pachinko boards, TNT, whatever you want to call it. Anything with random chance. It's just interesting to me.
Hey, shout out to what? And I'm gonna butcher this name. Aust Nerevar, one of our denizens. What did you say?
Ostnervar?
Could
Is it
be
Aust?
AUST.
We'll have to have him on to find out.
Erdrick, whatever. But he did say, Ryu, what you're saying. He wanted to give a shout out and wanted to hear about how that's the best thing ever. Those TNT boards, the Pachisi, and it should be in every Dragon Quest game. No, every video game. Period. So
Yeah.
you are not the only one that feels that way. Is that being an awesome part of Dragon Quest games?
It could definitely go wrong though too. It was in the Game Boy Color version and the Super Famicom version, if I remember correctly. But you land on the wrong square, and your strength could go up or down depending on like how lucky you are.
And was that a permanent change? Because I remember doing that. Oh my god, really?
Yeah, it was. Because I remember abusing save state to avoid having my stuff go down. Like that.
I abuse save states just to get the jackpots in casinos. So.
Oh yeah, same here. But you can't do that in. Well, I guess you could do that.
Don't even talk about 11.
Oh no, I'm not even talking about that. I was. I abuse save states in 11's casino, but I mean as much as you can. But yeah, for four's difficulty for casino is brutal. It's like there's no. I think you have to basically bet on monster battles and even that's not like there's no really solid way of predicting it, even though there's like a bunch of predictions listed on GameFAQs.
Yeah. Oh man, when I was young, I played Double or Nothing for hours on end with the the video poker, and then if you win, you do the Double or Nothing. That's how I made all my coins.
You did it without save state?
No, I did it without save state. I did just normal saving. I did it back on the NES days. I'll admit I never made it very far. I don't think I ever had the metal slime gear or whatever that was the biggest prizes back then. But
yeah, I think that game makes me anxious, so I don't do that without a save state.
Oh, that one's rough. That's rough. I know Ni no Kuni had something like that. I thought with one of theirs, maybe not. I just thought I remember playing it somewhere recently. The high-low.
Yeah.
Or was it Dragon Quest 11 had it, or I don't know.
Well, Dragon Quest 11 has it, but Ni no Kuni has one as well. In their casino. It's kind of like blackjack, and then you can basically bet your winnings on the next game to double or nothing.
Right. Yep. Because I did just played Ni no Kuni, the original one, for the first time a couple of months ago, and man, I spent a lot of time in that casino.
Some say it's the greatest game of all time. I am one of those people.
Nice.
I did enjoy it. Screw the battle system, but I enjoyed the game.
I'll accept that.
All right, so I was gonna say, Drippy, what about your favorite game mechanics?
Yeah, I mean, I like the class systems like in 3 and 6, and I know 7 has their own class systems. I never really stuck around the casinos like you guys were just talking about, but one, I guess, mechanic is the metal slimes and how if you don't have a lot of time to play, you can kind of find where they hang out and hope to kill a couple, and raise your level up pretty quickly in a pretty small amount of time. And definitely, the overworld encounters has helped that out recently.
You're gonna you played 8 on the 3DS, right?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Oh, that had one of the best ways to just turn that camera.
You could rotate the. I remember. Yeah, I know the exact spot too. Yeah, you would just rotate the camera, and if there wasn't a metal slime, you rotate it the other way, and made that game pretty easy.
Nice.
It did. That was like so exploitable. I loved it.
Absolutely.
So any games in the DQ franchise that you haven't gotten around to playing that you want to?
Well, I mean, 7 up until I think it was like 2 days ago. And some of the spin-offs, I mean, I have basically all of them. I'd like to play Fortune Street a little bit more. I played that on the Wii. And was like, well, I'm bad at this, and just kind of tucked it away. So, maybe get back to that one day. But I'm just focusing on the main series right now.
Nice. Yeah, I tried Fortune Street on the Wii too, but again, I liked it in concept, but there was this whole like stock market that they added to it that I couldn't wrap my brain around, and like adding something like that to a Monopoly style game.
Yeah, if it was like just straight Monopoly, I think I would have liked it a lot more. But yeah, you start adding these different mechanics, and it just got weird.
Yeah, you got to do your taxes.
Oh, come on, wimps! I beat the DS version all the way in Japanese long before Google Translate. I remember sitting in a hotel room. God knows. I'll tell you, that was so long ago. I remember sitting in a hotel room in St. Augustine, beating it on a vacation one time, ages ago. but I don't know. It wasn't too different from the Wii version. It might have had it, but I mean, again, I played it completely in Japanese, so I mean, I was kind of just looking at a little hints online on Game FAQ and just hoping I would win. I cleared all the boards in maybe 5 or 6 hours and was like, okay, I'm done with that. I don't know what I'm doing anyway, but I won. So there might have been. I don't know if I ever played with it.
All right, fair enough. Ryu, how about you? Any games in the DQ franchise you haven't gotten around to playing yet that you want to?
Well, I'm going to have to say Builders. I played the demo for it for a little while for the first one, but it made me just want to play it more. I'm waiting to see if I can find it in a store for a good price before I buy into it, though, because it looks like Minecraft and plays like it.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I mean, even if you don't have design skills, like Platy and I had a lot of fun with Builders 1, and I didn't get as much time into Builders 2, unfortunately, but I still plan on going back to it when I have some spare time.
I plan on getting Builders 2 eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
I know you've got Switch. They've got they went the kind of Dragon Quest XI route with that one. They just had an expanded demo.
I saw that.
Where you can play quite a bit, because I think you can play all the way through the first island.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 hours. Like it's
I was gonna say,
size.
Yeah, if you can go through the first island, because that game took me 60 some hours to beat, and there were 4 or 5 main areas. So yeah, that first one definitely was long.
Wow, that Switch getting more content than we do on the PS4.
Jeez, we've already got what 6 Dragon Quest games on it. When you think you got both Builders and 11 and 1, 2, 3.
That's another possibility. There's been some rumors floating around about DQ Heroes 1 and 2 for the Switch, which came out in Japan only. But maybe that's what Hori-san Hori-sensei was here in New York to talk about. Who knows? Potential Western release of the Switch version, which adds Ragnar as a playable character.
I actually just started a download for the demo. Thanks, guys.
For Builders?
For Builders, too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
So that's what you're going to be playing the rest of the night?
Possibly. I'm on DSL. I don't know when it's going to go. But
Yeah, we'll talk to you in a month when it gets there.
Yeah, if you kick off the podcast, we'll know it's you were favoring the download.
I don't think that's going to happen. Let's see.
Oh, I was doing a podcast with RP Gamer one time, and we brought up Humble Bundles, and I kind of was joking about a Humble Bundle for all the Idea Factory games, and the host goes on, and he's looking at it, and he didn't want that, but all of a sudden he noticed they had a Humble Bundle for like hundreds of Star Trek comic books from like 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. He's like, holy crap, I can get all these from like $30. And he starts downloading them, and it dragged. We had to pause and start the podcast again because it slowed his internet down too much. That was live right during the show. I think we were
worth it.
Yep, it might have been at the end of our Dragon Quest IX episode. Trying to think about which one I was doing at that time, but it was pretty funny.
Nice.
So, did we finish up that question?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, okay. So, Ryu, if you had to choose a Dragon Quest game to get the axe and be erased from history, not just you didn't like it, but no one should have ever played this. Do you have one that you think should have just be gone? Is there anything that bad?
Do I have to make a choice? That's the question.
You don't have to. No. If you feel that everything at least deserves to exist in life, at least all the Dragon Quest games, they may not be worth everybody's time, but they could at least exist. That's fine. Fair enough.
Honestly cannot really think of it.
Okay, that's fine. Drippy, you got one that should just...
Oh, do I? So, and it's kind of for a selfish reason. All the games add something to the series. They're all good. Even the bad ones, like 5, add something to the series.
The one 5 was bad.
Yeah, it's not my favorite.
Oh wow. That's a fan favorite. I think shots fired on that one.
Yeah, I put out a tweet the other day about starting 7, and then Austin from
DQ3.
from FM he said something about it, and I was like, yeah, I already played the bad ones, like 5 and stuff like that. And that kind of cut off my mentions. But anyways, I would axe 10 because we're never going to get it anyways. And if we can't have it and I can't play it and spend, $15 a month to play it, then nobody should have it.
I feel like half our listeners are now just like running to Twitter, registering their disgust at you.
That'd be at Drippy Star Slime.
Yeah. I think you said, is it SlimeStar? Or?
Yeah, Drippy
Slime. Yeah. Register all your disgust at Star Slime.
Yep. Yeah, right. Yeah, send it over to him, whoever that is.
Yeah.
They're never going to watch your Twitch streams now, Drippy.
Yeah.
No, to each his own. I mean, I like 6 a lot, and I know that a lot of people hate it, especially Platty. When it comes to 5, I don't like the Super Famicom version as much, but I like the DS version.
Yeah, I mean, I like 6. I hadn't played the Super Famicom version. I only played the DS version, and I liked it. The story was a little convoluted and with multiple worlds and stuff like that. I'm kind of like, well, where do I go? How does this all relate? But always the battle system and the classes changing and stuff like that. Like you had said the other day, it kind of gets to the everybody's god mode, and that's fine with me. If I can use all these skills that I've accumulated, cool.
Yeah. It's interesting what you can do if you master every single class and just have like all this entire party of god characters. But at the same time, I like the dynamic that 9 adds, where they put restrictions in, so you have to, if you want to be a healer, you have to change to like a sage or a priest.
Mm-hmm.
And that by adding that dynamic in, and I think they sort of took that for the remake of 7 too, and applied some of that. Whereas the original of 7 was similar to 6, where you have these god characters learning everything. But with the restrictions of 9, now you have, for multiplayer, you have the ability to say like, well, I'll be the gladiator, I'll be the priest, I'll be the paladin, and it defines your character class a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever purchased any official Dragon Quest merchandise or stuff made by fans? And if so, what have you bought?
Yeah, I sent some pictures over to you guys, before we started. I've got, a lot of figures. I got Zoma, I have the Dragon Lord, I have some the Square Enix, what is it? Tato. I got a Killing Machine and a Restless Armor, the Luminary, and the 3 hero Bring Art figures, but Platty actually made me perler beads of my final party for Dragon Warrior 3. So I have my hero, the warrior, my cleric, and sage, and then actually Michi sold me her signed copy of Dragon Quest VI from actually the last time Yuji Horii was in New York, I think, right? Or was I Los Angeles? Anyways, it's the prize thing in my possession. And then I don't know if it really counts as merch, but I have a Dragon Quest tattoo that I got back in August, so there's that.
Yeah, that's nice. That's you're the merch now.
Yeah.
You're your own merch.
And that is okay with me.
Nice.
Sweet. How about you, Ryu?
Well, the merch I have was technically prizes, but I've got the big plastic Zoma where he's holding his hands out. Looks like he's going to massage you.
That's the one I have.
I have, I guess it would be a Metal King slime, a slime plush, a plastic slime, and I can't reach it, and I don't want to stand up, but the pink one is Watabu, right? With the weird face from Dragon Quest Monsters? Or is it Warabu? Which one's which?
It's one or the other.
I'm
I know.
Playing this right now, I should know this. Watabu, isn't he the good one, and Warabu is the bad one?
I can't remember.
That sounds like...
I believe the pink one... I believe...
And everything just fell.
I believe the pink one's the bad one. The white one's like on the box, right?
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm just going to take a quick picture and send it. But yeah. Look at that pretty face.
Yeah, Watabu is the good one, so the pink one will be the bad guy.
Nice.
I mean,
That's
It even
only
still
Monster
has-
Series, right?
It even still has the smile slime tag on the back of it.
Wait a-
The paper one.
Oh, wait a minute. The box has them. The guy in the front is blue.
Then that's the good one. I got the bad one. We're all gonna die.
I swore one of them was white. Maybe it was. It was in color. I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe it's the whole.
You were playing it on a Game Boy, regular Game Boy.
Maybe I'm thinking of the Platypunk on Terra's being white, but Terra's Adventure, the second one. Well, you know what? I'm looking. Okay. I think I'm thinking of the original Game Boy Color box for in Japan. The white one's on the front, right behind little Terry. Interesting, they made him blue on our box. Weird. Alrighty. But I'm gonna ask you, Ryu, if you could cosplay. We started this question back in was it Halloween time? If you could cosplay as a Dragon Quest character, or if you have already, what would you do?
I'm gonna have to go into an old man voice for this one.
I want to be a bunny girl.
Nice.
Change my class and everything. I'm going to All Trades Abbey next week, you know.
I can't do Master Roshi, so.
That was pretty good, though.
But yeah, seriously, I would go to All Trades Abbey, change my class, and be a bunny girl.
Nice. That's great.
How about you, Drippy?
Yeah, I'm not real. I mean, I had never even really thought about cosplay, but if I were to and get like a really nice costume and like get some really good help with it, I mean, I would like to be Erdrick. I don't have yet the physique like Yangus was saying for Yangus or Torneko, but I mean, give me a few more years and I might be up there. So for now, Erdrick. In a couple of years, Torneko.
I'm not that short, but sadly, I'll be perfect for Torneko.
All right. So, Ryu, how did you end up joining Dragon's Den? How long have you been there?
Oh Lord. Well, I've been on the Den since 2010, and I think before that. But now that I think about it, I can't remember how I found it. It's been so long, I just kind of joined it and started posting on there. I think lately, over the past several years, I've been doing the rants and all that, and that's how I think I'm probably best known there.
I mean, your profile picture kind of matches up with like rants. It's this guy yelling at something. So it kind of makes sense.
No, that is Abin Hawkins from and the 1001 Spikes. I was playing that and saw that cutscene at the very end of it, and I thought, it's perfect.
Drippy, how about you? How did you end up joining the Den?
So on Twitter, there was the brag your DQ swag contest, and I needed to register for an account to take part in it. So I ended up there in 2018. I won second place actually, and I got a slime plushie as my prize. And I kind of didn't really get back into there until around before when Builders 2 and like when Hero was announced for Super Smash Bros. That's kind of when I really got back in, and you know I'd check in every day and stuff like that and talk to everybody. So yeah, I haven't been there too long, but you know I enjoy my time there.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think I realized that that was the contest that Platty and Westy and I created to kind of promote merch. It's kind of like merch awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I would still believe that like if the powers that be over at Square Enix see how much stuff that we import and just start to get some of that merch over here, that it would help the series. And
Yeah.
we ended up doing that contest, and then I think that year at New York Comic Con they had slime plushies for the first time.
Nice.
I don't know how well they sold, but I think that was for Builders 1, the release of that. But yeah, it was just cool to have some merch represented for DQ, like up there next to like all the Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts stuff.
Yeah, I actually won the She Slime plush from PAX last year for the photo contest that they were having.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so I actually won that as well. But I mean, I'm looking around my room and I was like, I don't think I own one like American-based like Dragon Quest thing. It's either come from like eBay or like Plage or whatever. Like, yeah, it's hard to get non Japanese stuff.
Your Perler bead ones were made in America. Just
Yes,
FYI.
yes. Yeah, there we go.
Were they? I don't think I've seen those. Were they? Which version were they? Like which?
They're the Game Boy Color sprites, and he actually also made me a Super Famicom version of Airdrick that is at my desk at work. So I got some at home and I got some at work. But yeah, made in America. There you go. Boom.
Cool. Platty, are you taking requests? Because I've got one.
I would. What do you want?
I want a magnet of Magnet Man from Mega Man 3.
Okay, we'll get you on the Mega Man episode, and
Dragon
Why am I
Quest Mega
suddenly
Man 3.
thinking of Inception? A magnet of Magnet Man only begets more magnets of Magnet Man.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you'd think that somebody would have that up on Etsy or Etsy or whatever, and I haven't been able to find it, so I figured I'll pay Platty to make one. All right. So on that note, apropos of nothing, so we have a game called Marry Thwack Puff Puff. Platty, you want to take it?
sure. I do have it here, and I got to make sure I read this with the straightest face possible, because you're all watching me, of course. So our Dragon Quest III edition, you've got three choices here. Marry Thwack Puff Puff. I think you guys understand the rules of the game.
Yes.
You get a soldier, a mage, and the third one goes a little bit. There's a little story here. It's a gadabout that has changed into a sage, and then further class changed into a fighter. So,
Are these all female, or are they male and female? I mean, because I have images in my head.
It can be whatever you want.
whatever you want. But yeah. So you got the soldier, the mage, and this person that's taken a long about way to being a fighter.
An extremely lucky magic wielding fighter.
All right, I'll go first. I'll marry the fighter. Obviously, you know, they take their lives pretty seriously now. Now they do. You know, they kind of slacked off in the beginning of the life, but you know, they got it together.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna say thwack to the soldier because I don't want I don't want to puff up with those abs. Like, my God, have you seen those things? And it's actually kind of funny because I have the Nintendo Power poster for Dragon Warrior 3, but it's Nintendo Power, so instead of that scantily little bikini, the soldier is actually wearing, like, workout shorts. It's weird. But anyways, thwack the soldier and puff the mage. I mean, sure. I mean, they're not bad looking, right?
Oh, these answers always get me.
Right, how about you?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to echo Drippy on marry. I would marry the class changed fighter. Because I mean,
Got about Sage Fighter?
yeah, why not? They're basic. They know what they wanted to do in life.
Maybe now they do.
Like you said, they started out a little bit off, but they turn into the literal epitome of, I'm trying to think of the word here. They turn into the epitome of everything you could possibly want in a class. And then they turn into what I consider the best melee class in 3 in the first place. So I'm going to have someone protecting me all the time.
Nice.
I would thwack the mage. They could just go right straight to Nadiria. I'm making a Dragon Quest V joke here, but
Yeah, no. I think that's the entire 4 through 6 trilogy is Nigeria, but yeah, definitely.
the old guy is just creepy, and the girl mage just looks too serious. In all of her looks, she's like, no, I want to kill things. I'm not interested in you. Go away.
She kind of looks like the traditional Halloween witch, right? With like the pointy hat.
Yeah, pointy black hat, green and black robes, yeah.
And I don't care which one it would be. I would puff that soldier. They are ripped, and they look like they know how to have a good time.
I can never remember if it's get a puff puff or give a puff when we do this game, but I guess it could be whatever you want.
Oh, it's always get a puff. It's
I don't
always
thi-
get a puff puff.
With
I
those
don't think
metal
any
chest
of the
plates.
heroes could give a puff puff.
Well, we're the heroes. Then again, I mean, I haven't lost enough to not be able to give a puff puff, but we'll just leave it at that.
Lord.
All right, and on that note, let's move to our main event here. Let's talk about Dragon Quest III. I usually try to, when we do these games, give a brief 1-minute overview of the game. I meant to kind of brush up on this, but like most Dragon Quests, you are a hero. And in this one, your mom kind of kicked you out of the house at age 16, says, hey, Kingy's got a quest for you. And this leads you to going about the world, collecting a bunch of orbs to defeat the big bad guy. But there is a twist in this game. Hey, the big bad guy is not the end of the game. I mean, I guess this is something that back in the day, in the 90s when this was here, this was a big thing. I remember I played it. It was like, holy crap, this isn't the end of the game. And you end up back in Dragon Quest I world, and there's more to do. We'll get into this, and hopefully this isn't too spoiler for everybody. The game's been out for 25 years. Deal with it.
I was going to say that. So okay, glad you did.
Yeah, we're spoiling all this. Spoiler alert after the fact. But that was just really cool. And you go through this, and at the end of the game, you find out that if you've played the first 2 games, this has been more of a lead up than you would imagine. But you're Erdrick, you're Lodo, you're whatever version of the game hero from 1 and 2 that you'd always heard about. You basically, this game is the prequel to going back before Dragon Quest 1, hundreds of years before Dragon Quest 1. So where it starts off as just your normal Dragon Quest, hey, go beat the bad guy, there is that mid-game, 2/3 of the way through the game twist. And there's definitely a payoff at the end for playing through it, especially if you played the first games. So there's your maybe 1.5 minute overview of the game.
Sure.
Liam,
And this,
take it away.
Yeah, this game talks about. This game it revolutionized the series with things like character classes, class changing, which went on to influence other releases like 6, 7, and 9. This is the first Dragon Quest game where you can create your own support characters, which we wouldn't see again until 9. And it's the first appearance of Luida's Bar as a mechanic for storing your support characters or creating additional ones. It's also come out in so many different ways. The NES, the Super Famicom, the Game Boy Color, the mobile, and then the Switch remakes. The NES version being the original, Super Famicom was only available for a fan translation. Game Boy Color came out a few years after the Super Famicom version and added an extra bonus dungeon to that. The mobile version was actually the Super Famicom version stripped down somewhat, and they removed the monster animations. So starting with Dragon Quest VI, you had the monsters starting to animate in battle, which was a really, really cool feature. And then after 6 came out, Dragon Quest III's remake was released and had the same feature where now all of the monsters are animated. It was a really, really cool feature. I liked it a lot. And then when the mobile version came out, they stripped that out for some reason. Japan didn't get it. Nobody got it. And then every subsequent remake, including the Switch, was basically the mobile version with some upgraded sprites. Again, the mobile remake takes out the monster animations and the Pachisi tracks. Was there anything else that got stripped out of that? Do you guys know?
Well, I'm actually playing the Switch version right now, and what they did with that was they kind of, I don't want to say Final Fantasy VI'd it like they did with the Final Fantasy VI remake, but everything is crisp and clean, and it looks kind of weird sometimes because they updated the sprites and everything else. It's not really sprites, it's more like bitmaps and junk like that, JPEG images. There's no NES feeling to it at all.
Oh, interesting.
Didn't they upscale the sprites, but the backgrounds are still like SNES quality?
No, the
Is that what it is,
backgrounds
or-
the backgrounds actually are updated as well.
Oh, okay.
Like the only thing that looks SNES quality is the overworld map.
All right. This is like the only English release Dragon Quest I don't own yet. One day PlayAsia is going to have a little bit of a sale and I'll pick it up, or it's just going to go super cheap on sale for the Switch and I'll pick it up. But my backlog's so big at this point, I was like, I played these games 4 or 5 times each.
Now, this was the same release. Didn't they release this on PS4 in Japan?
Yes.
Is it the same version? Do you know?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, aren't all these actually they trace their roots back to a mobile version like before smartphones or early smartphone? Isn't that why it doesn't have the animation and the tracks or something? Weren't these mobile before like 2017, 16?
Mm-hmm. They actually came out on like the flip phones.
Yeah.
And they just kind of updated them from there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
So
the flip phones could like somewhat emulate a Super Famicom?
Well, I mean, you look at Super Famicom, the games were like, what, 4 megs? Maybe 16 megabytes? So, I mean, I would assume that, I can't imagine that the controls would be anything great, but...
I don't know, I'm just trying to think back to my first, one of my early cell phones was a flip phone, and it was terrible. I can't even imagine being able to emulate anything on it.
But it could play Doom RPG, and therefore Dragon Quest 3.
All right. Well, there was also one thing I missed actually talking about was the Dragon Quest 25th anniversary Famicom and Super Famicom Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 collection, and that came out for the Nintendo Wii. Did anyone play that? Did they have monster animations, or was that a straight rip of the Super Famicom version, or was that the mobile version of 3?
I couldn't tell you on that one.
That was one of those Japan-only ones that no one's ever translated, no one's ever made the effort to.
Yeah, that's the only copy of the game that I actually don't own. I'm like looking at the list here, it's like I got that, but that Wii collection, that's an expensive one. And not knowing Japanese, I don't really feel like I should, shell out to have a Wii box with a disc that really doesn't mean anything to me, so not really sure.
What kind of price is that going for online right now?
I don't know. I think I've seen it for probably upwards of 100. I mean, I had it on my watch list for quite a while. That's
all right. All things considered, that's not terrible.
No, it's not.
I've seen higher. There's copies of like 7 for PlayStation that are up there.
There's one on eBay for $76 right now, and I mean, I got 2, 3, and 4 on the NES for I think it was like $50, and then for 2 of them, and then $60 for another. But at least I can play those and understand those and stuff like that. So, if it was
kind of
cheap,
ranges in price from there.
Yeah.
However, it does arrive before Christmas.
If anybody's listening and wants to buy me that for Christmas, go for it.
Nice.
All right. One of the speaking of all these remakes, other than just adding monster sprites and adding the Pachisi boards, and the Game Boy Color version added those stupid little monster coins that were impossible to get. Oh yeah, we don't have to get too far into that. But one of the things that they did add that all these versions added afterwards was maybe something just as pointless to some people, a personality system. There was that quiz at the beginning that determined what kind of personality, and I very vividly remember it from the Game Boy Color version more than anything, but it asked you all these like moral questions, and it determined what personality your hero had. And when you went to the bar to get people, they had personalities, and you could find books to change their personalities. Someone want to talk about this and something that?
Yeah, I have a kind of a story. Earlier in the podcast, I had mentioned that my first copy of Dragon Warrior 3. Well, I lost that copy one day because me being the stupid little kid, didn't know how to play JRPGs. We've been over this, so I was constantly restarting the game. And in the personality quizzes, your answers that you get kind of a scene after. Like one of them is you push a boulder and you can push it back to the old man and stuff like that. But one time I remember starting a new file and getting the one where you turn into a monster, and you're at the bottom of the well, and you can basically, you can kill the whole city, or you can just walk out.
Yeah.
So
I remember that one.
I'm in the car with my mom playing my Dragon Warrior 3, and I decided to kill an old man as the creature, and he said something that I didn't really know what it meant. So I said, "Mom, what does DAMN spell?" And that was the last I saw of my Dragon Warrior 3 copy. Until I bought a complete box copy for myself, so take that. I got it back.
Oh my.
That's great.
But other than that, yeah, I never really paid attention to the personalities. I know, like, on my Switch version, apparently the personality affects, like, when you learn certain spells. So my mage that was going to turn into a sage was taken forever to just learn, like, upper, the one that raises your attack. And I just said, forget it. I'm changing them to a sage, and it's like, I never pay attention to natures in Pokemon or anything, or personalities in Dragon Quest. It's just nothing that really interests me.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Play.
I was gonna say I'm the same way with Drippy. We were talking about this the other day online, and I was like, you know what, man, all those little in systems like that, because I mean, it affects your stats a little bit too. You get a little strength boost or whatever, right? I believe.
Yep. Yeah.
But I mean, you level up once or twice, and at that point, it's just like having an extra level or something here and there, and it never.
Relevant.
Yeah, I could grind a level faster than I could spend time worrying about what personality my mage was, or taking my sage to this or that. It wasn't that big a deal that it was like, holy cow, I can go beat the boss 5 levels beforehand. So
yeah, it was never that drastic. Yeah, if you either got 4 points in strength or 3 in wisdom, and didn't really matter.
Yeah, that's what a seed could do.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryu?
You guys are completely wrong about the personalities.
We have a conflicting personality here. All right, what do you think?
Well, they govern your stat growth for the most part. If you have a hero, let's say, with a Paragon personality, like Drippy was talking about the character quiz at the beginning. If you go through the monster thing and you don't kill anybody, you're likely going to get Paragon. Paragon governs your strength and overall major stat growth, and is perfect for a hero because you're going forward, charging at everything. And then, of course, with Luida's Bar, and honestly, I hate the new translation of it. They go way too far with the puns, but Patty's planning place? Come on! But, I'm sure you guys made your own characters, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's Patty's party planning place.
Mm-hmm. Ah!
That's even worse than
Yes. They let you
1P more alliterative.
They let you use stat seeds to govern your character's growth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say you're making a thief. If you manage to get acrobatic, he's going to be perfect the entire time. And like a fighter, you give him strength and vitality seeds. You're going to want him to be, I think it's a hard man or whatever, or brawny. I can't remember. I'd have to look back up the entire seed thing. But if you give them the right personality, their stat growth will go beyond the roof. Like both of my priest and my mage, they have vim. Not vim, they're witty. And right now my mage has close to 100 MP, and she's not even level 10 yet.
Wow.
So
That brings up another question. Typically, how do you like to add seeds? Do you hoard them towards the end, or do you use them right away?
at the very beginning of the game, I sell them.
Really?
Wow.
Because I don't like the chance of them going, okay, am I going to get 1 or 3? 1 or 3? I'll wait at the beginning of the game. I'll sell them to get the extra gold, and then later on I'll hoard them and use them all on like a sage or a fighter.
Yeah, but you could have hoarded them, because you can't get them back basically unless you're using your thief class.
Me, I'd rather have the extra gold.
Okay.
Yeah, I use them right away. And if it's strength, it goes to my fighter or soldier. If it's wisdom, it goes to my priest or sage. I don't see why I hang on. I've been hanging on to them in like Dragon Quest XI recently, especially Seeds of Skill, just if if I need the extra 1 or 2 to get the next skill that I want to get. But I tend to use them just right away.
Yeah. How about you, Platy?
I always have hoarded them,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've finished so many Dragon Quest games with a bunch of them just sitting in the bag. So, seriously, I'm like, oh, I won, and I've got 6 Seeds of Strength. So
No.
I have made an effort, the last 4 or 5 years, just the second I get it, use it. Because
Yeah.
if I throw it in the bag, it's lost
It's
forever.
staying there.
Right.
Yep, it's staying there. I'll glance at it again, but I'll never click on it.
I'm definitely a seed hoarder as well, just because you're doing class changes. Now suddenly that seed is downgraded as you lose half your stats when you play.
Oh, that's true. Mhm.
So I would hoard them until the end of the game. Of course, I made the mistake in Dragon Quest Builders of doing that in Chapter 1. I was hoarding my seeds, and you can't take any of them with you when you go to the next chapter. So that first chapter was rough. I found that out. When I found that out, I just started using the seeds right away in every chapter subsequent.
There you go. Good for you.
So, out of all the versions, which have you played? All the versions, just getting back to Dragon Quest 3. Which have you played, and which is your favorite?
Yeah, so like I said, I own almost all of them. I have files going on my Switch, my NES, mobile. But Game Boy Color that version is my favorite, and it could just be because nostalgia sake and stuff like that. But just kind of like what the 1 and 2 version on the Game Boy Color did. It kind of picks up the pace a little bit. You level up a little bit quicker. It's the quick save function, which is good for a mobile thing. I mean, because I remember playing in the NES version, and if I only have 20 minutes to play, I'll maybe get into a few fights because I have to trek all the way back to the castle. And I just like the artwork of the Game Boy Color the best. So I'd say Game Boy Color is my favorite.
That's mine too. I'll throw my 2 cents in there. I remember I've played plenty of times on the NES and played the mobile. I have not tried the Switch version yet, but I have a lot of good memories from the GBC version. What about you, Ryu?
I'm going to be honest, since I started playing the Switch version, I'm really liking it. I know that the original Game Boy Color had monster animations and some other stuff, but even though it's kind of jarring with how the Switch looks with the super crisp sprites and stuff, it just kind of hits me the right way a little bit.
Nice. Did they do anything to the music in the Switch version, to enhance it, or is it close?
Yeah, I think it's the orchestrated version now.
Kind of orchestrated, kind of synthesized. You just heard it.
A little bit of combo.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the NES version, but I don't know that it's aged all that well. It has an interesting opening battle scene with Ortega versus a dragon, but the pace of it is a little bit slow. If you just look at the long walk from Eliahan Castle to the town, you'll just notice how the pace hasn't aged well. It wasn't until Dragon Quest VI that we started to see characters move slower on the world map and faster in towns or dungeons, giving that illusion of distance. If you look at Dragon Warrior 3's pacing, though, it's still a great game, but I understand why modern gamers would be more interested in playing one of the remakes. But still, the Super Famicom version has the best graphics with and I hesitate to say that because I haven't played the Switch version. It has superior graphics to the NES and Game Boy Color versions, and it has monster battle animations, which I still think make it the best version to date, since the mobile version and every subsequent remake stripped that out. And I know the Game Boy Color version has the extra bonus dungeon, but it also has monster medals, which that makes it a lesser version for me because of that.
And for those of you wondering about the monster medals we're talking about, when you beat a monster, you had a random chance and got it filled 1 in a million.
Random. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredibly small chance that you would generate even a bronze medal.
I was
let
going to say
alone
there was
silver or
3
gold.
levels. There was bronze, silver, and gold.
Yep.
And then to get into that last bonus dungeon, you had to have all of them. Did you have to have just all of them, or did you have to have all of them gold? Because I was never going to spend the time to figure that out.
Don't think anyone ever got them all gold. I know
You had to have all of them.
you probably just had to have all of them.
Mhm.
To get into it. I think Redneck Pride from Dragon's Den was talking about how he was someday going to go back and get all the golds, but I don't know if that's like one of those things you kind of talk about doing and then never do. But we'll see.
You can trade them and stuff with other copies of the game too, so it's like, if you had a friend that had all of them, you could, I guess, technically trade. But I mean,
but the gold ones were so rare. How are you going to trade with someone?
Oh my, yeah. I don't even know how that system works. I mean, because I never had friends, but I also, I also didn't have my.
Sorry to hear that.
But yeah, I never got too into those. It's a cool concept. Yeah, the effort to actually get them, I don't think it's worth it.
Okay, here we go. Live on the podcast. This is hilarious. Liam, you summoned Redneck Pride. I literally just got a video from him through Facebook Messenger.
What?
Not 1 minute after you said his name, I friended him on Facebook. He sends me funny little memes and everything every now and then, and all of a sudden my phone just dings. I look down. It's him.
I thought you were going to be like, hey, I heard you guys talking about me.
That would have been hard to do, but I am going to tell him, hey, we just talked about you. I'm gonna ask him if he ever got the
going. How's the gold medal collecting going?
Hey, we just brought you up.
And by the way, can you trade us all of your medals?
Yeah.
Let's start passing this around. Did you ever get all the gold medals in DQ3?
No, watch it. Like, I mistaken it wasn't him. It's like, I don't know. I've never played that game.
That'd be great. Oh, well, we'll see what he says. All right. So moving along, I know Drippy wanted to make a comment about the NES version.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. And it was kind of a random thought, and I know Liam, you knew about this too. The opening of the NES version of 3 doesn't have the classic overture, or the opening song, the alarm that I wake up to every single morning. What it is, where it came from, it's really weird, and even the start screen is a little bit different. I mean, it's just this gray, statue of a dragon. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
and
definitely
it stuck out to me when I got my NES copy.
Yeah. I mean, I think for NES, 3 and 4 have that same opening image of a dragon holding an orb. With maybe with the NX logo, and then
I know what you're talking about there.
Yeah, but yeah, 3's 4 Dragon Warrior 3 for the NES. There's a bit of an unsolved mystery of Dragon Quest 3 for who composed the opening music, because there's this very un-Koichi Sugiyama-like composition added to the NES localization for Dragon Warrior 3. Platty, can we edit that in for a second?
Yeah, I will put it here in the podcast. So if you hear the musical break around this time, that's what it is.
All right, and I asked some folks at Square Enix about this, and no one has been able to answer yet. Where that that music came from. Most likely because none of them worked at NX of America at the time. But the opening theme does not appear on any Dragon Quest 3 soundtracks. And I've owned and listened to quite a lot of them. It is not likely that Koichi Sugiyama composed it because of that fact, but if not, then who?
Hey, maybe it was, what is it, Manami Matsume?
Manami Matsume.
Yeah, I mean, she was writing for Capcom and Mega Man, I think it was back then, around that time. Maybe she gave DQ a little try before getting a bigger break 10 years, 15 years later with Dragon Quest swords.
Nice. Yeah. I'm sure that was on her resume when she submitted this to for swords.
Exactly. Once wrote a 35-second opening.
Yeah. I always feel like, when I talk to people about this online, I always feel like Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries. If you or anyone you know knows the whereabouts of the composer for the opening of Dragon Warrior 3, call the number on your screen. There's no number on the screen. I guess maybe we can edit that in later too. So there's a running theory, and this comes from Dustin Taylor from the Dragon's Den's Facebook page, and he writes, Hayato Matsuo may have been the composer and arranger. The piece is simplistic and shows very strict, almost religious inspiration from the pieces found in 1 and 2. Matsuo worked with Sugiyama starting in 1991 and may have been tasked with a quick add-on for the localization. I can't find any definitive info, though, and it's clearly stated that in all dated interviews and magazines that Sugiyama did all of the music. The step progressions in the later stanzas reek of Sugiyama's style, especially for fanfare pieces. I'd stake a bit of my life on it being cast off bit of writing that was left the wayside and added for the Western localization folk. That's an interesting theory. I'm not sure I agree with the theory that it was like lost Sugiyama track, because I just don't hear how it sounds like any of Sugiyama's style at all. And if it were, then how did it get left off the cutting room floor and not get on any of the multiple releases of Dragon Quest III soundtracks? I mean, in the remake, they even added an extra track of music for that opening scene where they're asking you the questions that will make up your personality. So I'm more inclined to believe the Hayato Matsuo theory that for the localization, NX of America had someone else whip up a quick intro song for the game. But seriously, if you are listening to this and have factual information about how this music got into the game, please hit us up online. Let us know. You could help the fan base to understand a long-lost Easter egg for one of the most important games in the franchise.
Yeah. That'd be interesting to know. Also interesting to know, Liam, you were 100% wrong.
What's that?
I got message back from Redneck Pride, and he's like, gold medals? You mean the Game Boy Color version of the extra dungeon? I never played through that version at all.
Awesome. I'm completely wrong. Okay, it was somebody else.
It's
He's
another
like,
unsolved mystery.
Yeah.
he went on to say, he goes, damn, I don't even have the gumption to do all the mini medals in any of the games, so forget that.
Or anyone you know knows who Liam was talking about.
Join me. Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery.
So one of the other things about the NES version's game mechanics that differ from any of the remakes was the loss of battle backgrounds. So battle backgrounds from the original releases were lost from Dragon Warrior 2 through 4, being replaced with a simple black background, most likely to cut costs or save time for having to build logic that tells tells where the art's on the map to like how to match up the map with the appropriate background image.
Mm-hmm.
And battle backgrounds, which haven't been seen since the original Dragon Warrior, would not return until Dragon Quest V for Super Famicom. So in all of the remakes, starting with not the Game Boy Color though, right?
Nope, Game Boy Color has white ones.
Yeah. The Super Famicom version, which came out a couple of years before Game Boy Color, had all of the art change depending on where you are in the map, and everything, including the swamps. If you get attacked in a swamp, there's a swamp background, things like that. So that's one of the changes that we saw in most of the remakes. The parry attack, which is
this was fun.
Yeah, this is a fun thing to kind of research and talk about. So I guess I should preface this with the manual that came with the original Dragon Warrior 3 was this large, thick book that contained a walkthrough of the entire game from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, even the close to the end game where you find yourself back in a left guard, is all contained in this walkthrough in the manual. And probably about 3/4 of the way through, is this little blurb, and this is available on Dragon's Den if you go to the Dragon Warrior 3 section, and you'll see a PDF of the manual there. But on page 59, it says, "Do you know you can reduce the potential damage enemies inflict by employing the parry fight technique? So select parry, then press the A button to cancel the selection by pressing select parry and press the A button. Cancel the selection by pressing the B button, and then select fight with the A button. By employing this technique, you can attack enemies while benefiting from the effect of parry. You may think the extra steps require a nuance, but this technique will be quite useful against strong enemies. Notice the difference, right?" And then they have some screenshots of it to show you some differences. But this was something that you could use to protect. You could do this at any point in the game, but they tell you in the walkthrough of the manual, they tell you kind of 3/4 of the way through, I guess, to give you something for replay value. But also, at that point in the game, things are starting to get a little bit harder. This might have been a little bit more useful for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing this, and I said earlier before we started recording tonight that I can't remember if I shared this story with Dwayne when we were doing Dragon Quest, the Dragon Warrior 2 episode, but I vividly remember, like, having a day off of school at some point in middle school, and, like, I spent the whole day just running errands with my mom, and we picked my sister up from 4th or 5th grade at the end of the day and dealt with her friends and finally getting home. But I remember in the morning we were at the mall, and I picked up, and I couldn't remember if it was Dragon Warrior 2 or Dragon Warrior 3. And this being in the manual and bringing this up in the past couple days and today, I am 100% sure now it was Dragon Warrior 3 that I got that day at the mall, because I remember doing this, like, reading this and looking at this, like, I feel my thumbs doing the muscle memory of attack, or of, like, down, parry, hit the B to go back, pick your attack, boom, boom, down to parry, go to back, go back. And it's funny that, like, was it, you typed this in the notes, or was it in the book that, it'd behoove you to put one of your strongest guys in the back, because your last character you can't do this for?
Yeah, so the hero has too many menu choices, and this is, again, all of this parry attack has to do with the NES Dragon Warrior 3 version. So the hero has too many menu choices once he learns his first spell, and when the spell comes in, it pushes your menu options, and the parry goes away. So if you have the hero in that first character slot, he's not going to be able to parry. So it makes sense to move him somewhere else in the party and put someone who has no spells, like a soldier, in the front. So that way, the soldier has 3 menu options. If you stick him in the front, he has 4. Because they add, like, I think run is the first character in the slot gets run.
Yeah.
So then it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because the final character in your party, the 4th character in your party, hitting parry would just initiate the battle round. So parry attack is only going to work for those first 3 characters, and only the first character if you don't choose the hero. So stick the hero maybe in the back, because he doesn't necessarily need parry attack. He might be the stronger. And then some of your weaker guys in the middle, and then the soldier in the front would make the most sense if you're going to use the parry attack regularly.
Mm-hmm. And see, I never connected that I should put somebody stronger at the end. I was always like, well, screw you, dude, at the end. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about that is it looks weird, It looks very unheroic to have your hero in the back. Like, here's Erdrick. He's tagging along.
Once.
Yeah, Ryu's dog agrees with me on that one.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, because sometimes I put my soldier in the first spot, and then I have my hero in the second, and everybody's kind of talking to my soldier like he's the hero, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I'm over here. Like, talk to me.
Well, I mean, I do this in Dragon Quest 6. I always put Amos in the front the second I get him, because
the true hero, right?
He is the true hero of Dragon Quest 6. He's the knight in the armor, not that blue-haired punk-ass kid.
And that's the hill you're willing to die on.
That is the hill I'm willing to die on with Dragon Quest 6. Yep.
Sorry about the dog.
It's okay.
That's right.
Please tell me your dog's name is Moonbrook.
No, actually, it's Jelly Bean.
Oh, okay.
That's just as good.
All right. So, favorite class? Does anyone have a favorite class or party?
Yeah, I do. So my favorite class is the Sage, and for multiple reasons. I think it looks the coolest. In the actual official art and stuff like that, and then the sprite works and stuff. They're just I feel the best. I mean, they're the prestige class and stuff like that. You got the healing, you got the powerful attacking magic and stuff like that. And so the party that I always go for, I've taken to naming after my family. So I have me as the hero, so Mike. I have a male warrior named Charlie. That's after my first cat. The cleric and mage are kind of interchangeable, but on my current playthrough, the cleric is my wife. And then my mage Sage is my other cat, Lucy. So interchangeable, but so I go hero, warrior, cleric, and then my mage gets turned into a Sage.
Nice. How about you, Ryu?
To troll an entire party of gababouts. But what I normally end up doing, and I'm doing it on my current playthrough, is I have, of course, the hero, and I flip a coin every single time I play it. It's either going to be a thief or a fighter, and right now it's a thief, and then of course a mage and a priest. Eventually, my thief is going to be a sage, and I'm just going to flip the classes on the priest and the mage. Because if you look at the artwork carefully, you will notice that the sage and the male thief have the exact same eyes. So the male sage is a male thief who has reached enlightenment.
Or maybe it's a thief that stole a sage's eyes.
Maybe. But as far as I see, I'm just following continuity.
Artistic continuity. There you go.
I think I would probably go for sage first and then thief, so then you could have like a sage who could steal stuff.
But how can you have the sage first from the get-go?
Oh, from the get-go, yeah. Mm-hmm. You'd have to start it off with a
Book of Enlightenment or scroll in whichever version you're playing.
Book of Satori or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, all right. I mean, on every playthrough, I try to do something I haven't done before. So, I mean, most recently, I class changed a level 40 gadabout to a sage. Typically, I'll do either like a soldier or a fighter to a sage for the strength and spell advantages. And then a priest to a sage for the spell, for specifically for like higher MP for the sage. But yeah, so you can class change in the game starting at level 20. But if you're trying to change a spellcaster and they haven't learned all of their available spells by level 20, I tend to wait until around level 40. But that puts me around the time I have to fight Baramos. So it's a slow grind either before or after Baramos to get my characters back up to be able to tackle the harder monsters towards the end of the game. So it's a tough call. I think next time when I'm waiting to class change my spellcaster, I may try like a soldier to a fighter to a sage, starting at level 20 for both the soldier and the fighter, and then stats get halved. When you class change around 40 would allow for more stat retention, but I think I would enjoy it more to class change some sooner and closer to the end of the game. What do you guys? What's your take on that? Like, when do you typically class change?
I'm kind of like Drippy. I don't class change very much. I've got my hero. I'll either go soldier or fighter, and then I'll usually do mage and cleric, and then I will, or priest, whatever version. But then I'll turn the mage into the sage, so I've got the two healers, and that's about it. That's usually the only class change I'll do. And I do it right away because when I'm switching them and I get the sage, I'm going to get all the spells anyway. So, but I mean, the few other times that I've like changed to try something different, try to have a thief either early on or later on, I'll always do it right at 20. I'm way too impatient. I don't really max anybody out in games. I know somebody just started a post about that on the Den today about how do you guys feel about maxing character stats? And I was like, I did it in Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and nowhere else.
Yeah, so, and yet we still got our asses handed to us by Zoma when
Oh gosh, yeah, that game. I'm 99 across the board, and it doesn't matter. I'm never gonna platinum that
Yeah, same here.
wonderful, lovely piece of crap. It's a good game. It's lovely. I do love it, but
It's a
damn
good
it,
game, but like, yeah,
that
those last three final bosses are way overpowered.
it is. And you know what? That's one thing I kind of like about Dragon Quest games. I mean, usually if you put in the time, you can get the high enough stats to be able to beat things. I mean, if I can't figure out everything, and in Dragon Quest Heroes, man, my manual dexterity is not the way some other people's are. So I like my turn-based battles, and I like to be able to, if I invest the time, be able just to get strong enough to beat things. And man, Heroes, you can't do that. You can get level 99 and still get rolled by a couple of those. So no, I mean, in Dragon Quest 3, it's a great mechanic. I have used it in the past. Mainly, I just use it to make my sage and move on. I like my balanced parties, and I don't feel the game's hard enough that I even need to do that.
They really... Damn it. The hell did I do?
We hear you.
Okay. Really, if you think about it, I think they put the All Trades Abbey / Dharma Temple in Dragon Quest 3 way too early. Because by then, you're at the very least 18 or 19. You're going to automatically just want to go, oh, I'm going to change all my classes. And then as you get further along, you realize you're missing vital spells and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into it a little bit more for spoilers, but you change classes too early, and the Archfiend will eat your entrails.
Feast on thine innards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Liam, did you mention that when you change classes, you go back to level 1?
No, but yeah, that definitely does happen. It halves your stats, so you're not quite as level 1 as you would normally be, but it does bring you down to level 1. But then the good thing about that is, so you start off with halved stats of whatever whatever you were before, and now you can level faster. Those first 10, 15 levels will be much significantly faster at leveling. So you start off half, and then now your stats are growing really quickly.
And what Ryu said. I mean, especially when you get there and you're all excited to change classes if you want to. I mean, you got to watch out you don't change like everybody's class all at once, or suddenly you've got the hero and a bunch of level 1 guys.
And it even mentions that in the Game Boy Color guide. It's like, yeah, only change 1 or 2 people, and then explore the area right outside of all trades, because I guess that's a good place to level up. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you go in there, you're like, oh man, and you don't, you're not paying attention or whatever, and all of a sudden, yeah, you have 4 level 1 guys in a level, I don't know, 12 or 13 zone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you can't class change the hero, so the hero would still have a jacked level, and then everybody else would be kind of useless.
Yeah, actually, I remember that now because there's a picture in the Super Famicom manual that I love. I love the art in those old manuals too, but it's Erdrick, and he has three characters behind him. They all, they have a sign on them that says level 1. And he just looks really grumpy, oh, I have to carry these guys around now. You guys later. It's a pretty funny picture.
Oh, that's good. It'd be like the modern equivalent of being that overpowered person in an MMO that crap. I just got paired up with a whole level 1 group.
Yeah.
But if I play the game,
if all of us joined to play Dragon Quest X after this, that.
And we all hop on a Japanese server, that we'd be the level 1 group.
We go find Noaria and hey, help us. We're running around in circles in the battle. Okay, so do you want to talk about fan questions from social media?
Yeah, we had quite a bit. We put this out, I think at the beginning of the week. We put it both on the Dragon's Den and tweeted it out, and got a lot of different things that people wanted us to talk about. So go ahead, Liam, if you want to read the first one.
Sure. From Miatnarium on Twitter. What improvements were made that ultimately make Dragon Quest III probably the most well-known Dragon Quest game worldwide?
And I'm assuming they were talking about basically from 2 to 3 or from 1 to 2 to 3. I mean, for me, it was 1, you got jobs. And that has become a staple of the series intermittently throughout. With 3 and 9 and 7 and 6 had these character classes, and you could change them at points. And another 4 games in the series would do that again later. The 4-person party would become a thing, because before that you had 1 and you had 3, and here you get that party. And I think this is where you get the beginnings of that typical JRPG. You've got like your hero, you got your fighter, you've got your healer, and you've got your mage. Like that group of 4 would become pretty iconic after that.
Yeah, I use that kind of class really in any game going forward. I make sure to always have kind of a well-rounded hero type where, they can heal, they can attack with magic, and they can do pretty good damage. Then you have your tank or your really heavy damage dealer, and then 2 healers. That's how I always stick to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like the customization elements of it. The fact that you can create your own party and define how you want them to grow. So
yeah, it gives a little bit more where you have blank slates. You can kind of put a little bit more personal flair. I mean, like I said, I always name my characters after people I know and stuff like that. Pre-made characters, in like 8 or whatever, they're great. But sometimes it is cool to have just completely customized. These characters mean something to me.
Yeah, Ryu, you started to talk about before when we were off record. You were mentioning that you had some of us in as characters in your game.
Yeah, actually, right now it's just Platty. I decided to make him my thief and named it Platinum.
Oh, by the way, I was supposed to tell you, Ryu, you're not the only denizen out there playing Dragon Quest III tonight. And apparently not the only denizen with a character named after me out there playing Dragon Quest III tonight.
Really?
Yangus messaged me a little bit ago, and he's like, hey, tell Ryu I see him playing online right now.
I was playing before we started recording as well. So, just killing some time, killing some liquid metal slimes at Baramos Castle. No big deal.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm just leveling around Alahan.
All right, so getting back to from Lou Rock on Twitter, what are some of your favorite concepts, characters, monsters, and DQ-isms introduced in DQ3 that, of course, you can still see in Dragon Quest games today?
Puff Puff!
Technically speaking, I think Puff Puff was in the original Dragon Quest 1 and 2 in the Japanese. Didn't make it over to the localization. 3 is the first one we got. Dragon Warrior 3 for NES was the first, and it was that iconic one where you go into the dark room in Escharum, and then the lights come on, and it's that burly guy. What's his name? Roughneck with the bullhead helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do that exact same thing in 11, actually.
Yeah, that's such a great homage. Also in the desert town.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because the dude's got big enough pecs that he probably could actually do that.
I think one of my favorite monsters from the game, and it's a really random one, it's the Raven, or the Stark Raven, I think they're called nowadays. But I just remember that being one of the first monsters I saw just in the game, and it really kind of stuck with me. Like, that's a really cool design, and so it was really cool to see it back in 11. And I was like, oh man, because I think he's only in 3 and 11.
And maybe is he in Swords too? I kind of remember that animation where he picks up the skull and drops it on you.
That would make sense. I mean, I hadn't played much of Swords, but yeah, I think I do remember seeing him in there as well. And and just I know we made fun of it earlier, but Patty's party planning place, whatever. I mean, it meant that much that it's an actual place in the world now. In Japan, and hopefully we were saying, hey, maybe in New York. To have something from a video game become a real life place where if I ever go to Japan, I mean, I have to go there. I feel like it's a place that every Dragon Quest fan should experience. And all the pictures of it and stuff that I see, I'm extremely jealous. So, and I like that they have it kind of in 9. And I know it's in the hero, or at least Patties and heroes and stuff like that. So that's pretty memorable to me.
Yeah, definitely something that carries over between games.
Maybe carries over in between game series as well, because something just popped up in my head. One of the earliest monsters in Earthbound was a raven.
Yep. I love Earthbound too, so it's pretty cool that you brought that up.
Hmm.
But I mean, yeah, with Earthbound, I mean, it's on Earthbound podcast. It kind of made sense that a crazy raven, in the little hometown would be attacking you.
It's Stark Raven Mad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So from Mark in Austin on Twitter, what factors contributed to its tepid reception in North America? What would you have done differently if you had been in charge of decision-making with the original NES release in the West to maximize its chance for success in that era?
You slap either Final Fantasy or Legend of Zelda on the sticker, and then when people plug it in, they go, wait a minute. I mean, just to get the sales. I mean, I think it was kind of doomed from the start. People just weren't interested in console RPGs yet, especially long, sometimes grindy JRPGs. I just think you really couldn't have done anything with it. And, with the Game Boy Color and stuff, yeah, you did some improvements. You put it on a handheld thing to, kind of streamline everything. But even then, how many people were going to pick up this third game of a series they've never heard of? I mean, I swear to God, my mom only got it because she thought the cover looked cool, and thought, oh, well, he likes Pokemon and stuff like that. He'll probably like this game. I don't really know.
I'm 100% with you on that one, especially with the Final Fantasy thing. I mean, look at the what is it? The Mana games came out as what? Final Fantasy Adventure.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that was the first one, though.
They're just the first one.
Yeah.
I know the first 3 Saga games came out as Final Fantasy Legends, right? 1, 2, and 3.
I was just looking at that the other day. Yeah, they're Final Fantasy games, but they're not. But
yeah, they're not.
Final Fantasy on it, and it's gonna sell.
Well, yeah, they
that
actually
was
had Moogles in the Seiken Densetsu Final Fantasy Adventure game. So like there was some tie-ins there. I didn't play the Saga games. Were there any fun, like chocobos or anything like that, or Moogles?
I don't believe so. And actually, I've just listened to like 3 podcasts this week about those because Genghis, the legendary bandit, and I are getting ready to play Romancing Saga 2 together. And listening,
so romantic.
Oh, yeah, come on!
It is the romancing of the 2 twinsies. It's a saga of romancing twinsies.
Yeah.
Too. But listening to this stuff and hearing stuff, I was listening to a Retronauts episode, and they were going into it all, and they said they were going way back, and they're like, this was actually a very concerted effort by Square at the time to market their games and try to like bring a lot of Japanese games over here as Final Fantasy. They're like, people didn't. In the late 90s, we weren't all on the internet looking up game history and reading reviews and watching YouTube from that. So they could have brought anything over, slapped Final Fantasy on it, and we would be like, oh, it's Final Fantasy. Now, obviously, this was Enix at the time, not Square, so they didn't have that opportunity. But, I mean, I remember in, like, 2005 or something, one of the first times when I came on the Den, I was like, you know what? It would hurt my heart a little bit, but if it got it more popular, I wouldn't care if Dragon Quest in the West just became Final Fantasy Quest or something like that. And it'd be completely different, but that name on it would just
sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually they did do some Final Fantasy crossover promotion with Dragon Quest VIII in 2005. They had the demo disc for Final Fantasy 12, right? Was included with Dragon Quest VIII. So a lot of people actually ended up buying that game specifically to get the demo disc.
I hear that a lot of videos about 8. People always mention the demo disc for Final Fantasy, and I think it was Claim of the Grey Wolf. He's talking about it, and he's like, "Yep, I was one of the people that did it." I mean, you see Final Fantasy, it just sells stuff.
Yeah, which is hilarious because I didn't touch that demo at all. To this day, I bought 8 or 8.
I did, and then I got Final Fantasy 12, and that is, I've listed that in a couple different places as my biggest gaming regret. Screw that game.
So there's pluses and minuses to the crossover promotion. All right, from Mega Silver X1 on Twitter, you could talk about the improvements and changes of Dragon Warrior 3 made from Dragon Quest 3, like an intro, redrawn character sprites, and more music. There was an extra track that we mentioned earlier that was added to the personality quiz, and that I believe was new music that had not been in the original NES version or any Japanese or US release before it came out on Super Famicom, and that was starting to be added now to the orchestral soundtracks as well. Other than that, are there any improvements we haven't mentioned yet already?
Now that you mentioned improvements, in the mobile versions, there is a couple things that they took out that really kind of confused the hell out of me when they did it. And that's the actual pre-intro from 3, where it shows Ortega going all over the world of Alihan and the battle with him in front of the volcano and stuff. I mean, they even put that in the Super Nintendo version, but it never showed up in the mobile version.
I don't remember Ortega going around a left guard. I only remember the battle.
No, he actually goes around Alihan, at least in the not Alihan, whatever you call the world of the Dragon Quest 3 world.
Oh, okay.
Because there's that one town where you get his helmet.
Yeah, Earth. Right.
Yeah, it's Earth.
Yeah,
Might as well
we
be.
did forget to mention that. No, I mean, if you look at all of the shapes of the land, they look like different continents from Earth.
But
and even, like Egg and Bear is like the UK.
But I mean, in Dragon Quest 3, in the GBA version, the actual intro of it shows him getting this helmet from this merchant.
So that's the difference then. Because you're talking about the Game Boy Color version has a different intro than the NES version
and the Super Nintendo version.
Because I just restarted the NES version to take some screenshots of the menu, the battle menu changing, and it starts off immediately with him Ortega fighting the dragon, and it's a cool little animation going on that you don't really get to see a lot of in the game ever again. Do we know if that was in the Japanese version? I'm not sure that it was.
I never played the Japanese version.
I don't know if that part was in the original Famicom or if they added it to the NES version. I have a feeling that I read that somewhere that it's only in the US. But if I'm wrong again, like I was about Redneck Pride, please feel free to sign on. Go to YouTube comments.
Another unsolved mystery. We're just racking them up tonight.
Yeah. All right. From Os Nerivar on the Den, I would like to hear about how the Pachisi TNT Sugoroku in DQ3 is the best thing ever, and how it should be included in every DQ game, nay, every video game.
I'll accept that. I only did it, once or twice. Well, I only won once or twice, but I made sure that whenever I got a TNT ticket, I made sure to hang on to it. And if I came across a new board, all right, I'll give it a try or two. Because there were some pretty good items and stuff like that. And going back to it, it kind of makes me want to play Fortune Street. But then again, I don't know how to play that, so whatever.
Now, these boards were in Dragon Quest V. Is that the only other one they were in?
Were they in 5? I thought they were just in 3.
I believe they were in 5 and 6.
Yeah, because I do remember, I think, playing one on the DS version. Oh, of one of those, 5 or 6.
Oh, all right. They were in the remakes, but not the original.
No.
Correct. Yeah, I know they were in the 5 one, because I remember I had played 5 completely through in Japanese. I had a emulation card at the time when those were coming out in DS, and the 4 one I was able to. It had the English text, and somebody the day of release turned that on, so I was able to play that in English the day it came out in Japan. But Dragon Quest V didn't, and I ended up playing through the whole darn game just to play with Deborah in Japanese. I was like, I know enough Dragon Quest V that I can get through this. And man, not knowing anything, I was like, oh crap, I don't know if my strength just went up or I just lost 100 strength or 100 gold. I really don't know.
Sure, Deborah's tearing me down, but it's in Japanese.
Yeah, I had no clue. But I know there was like a really, really big one in that one that was opened in the bonus dungeon. And gosh, I must have played through that like 20 times trying to beat it. Because there were specific prizes for beating those in Dragon Quest V DS. When you got to the end, there was a specific item that you could win just once. You could keep playing the board if you had the tickets or whatever, but...
Yeah, the TNT stuff, I mean, because the tickets were limited, right?
Correct.
you couldn't. There's a limited number of tickets that you can play, so there's a limited number of times you could play, and there's a possibility that you could burn through a ticket and then land on something that like lowers one of your stats. So
That or just kicks you out of the game. That was always the worst for me.
Oh
You
yeah,
get
yeah, like
almost to the end.
trap door opens up and you're just
Yeah.
yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Come on.
There's some anxiety going on there with playing these.
And then at the end where you need to get the specific number on the die, or like, you'll go to the end, but you'll get, like, if you need to get 2, but you roll a 3, you'll actually start going backwards. And, yeah. That's why.
Definitely anxiety inducing.
Oh yeah, my wife does that with certain games with my kids. Board games, she's like, "Oh no, you got to roll just there," and I'm like, and when the kid they like playing with me because I'm always like, "Oh, you got to the end, you win, whatever."
Yeah, whatever, you made it, you're good.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to draw these games out. If we're sitting there playing Sorry or something for like 45 minutes, going around the board nailing each other, I'm like, "No, you made it in the safe zone, you're good." Yep. And they're like, "But mommy says," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, you play with mommy one way, you play with me another." I'm a little bit more forgiving, and maybe that comes from too many times going backwards in the
TNT,
the cheesy tracks and the TNT. Yep.
Went backwards and fallen into a trapdoor after you lowered your stats. So, yeah.
Oh, that'd be horrible. So, what was and this is the biggest spoiler of all, but hey, I said it earlier in the episode, so wait, everybody. What did you all feel like when you reached the end of the game and you found out you were Erdrick? You had been playing as Erdrick this whole time.
So I have a tendency before I play a new Dragon Quest game to look up information about it, watch video reviews and stuff like that, get a real sense of what people think about it. And so that was spoiled for me. But it was kind of good because it kind of added to my love of it because, I'm a sucker for like origin stories and stuff like that. And, and just to know that I'm Erdrick, I'm the guy they're always talking about in 1 and 2, like, this is awesome. It's just, it just really, it made it better for me kind of knowing that. It would have been cool if I had figured that out by myself, but I mean, I was fine with knowing it going in.
And now we've made sure that many other people are going to know this going.
Well, and I like it so much that that's what my tattoo is. It's Erdrick's shield and Erdrick's sword. So like, I'm just in love with that guy, basically.
Nice. I thought you were saying you got a tattoo of the spoiler.
Oh, yeah.
You got a tattoo that says "I am Erdrick."
Yeah, that'd be the biggest asshole tattoo to get. Would just be like spoilers for major movies all over your body.
People came in and thought it was a Legend of Zelda shield and sword, so I told them no.
Oh,
that was no fun.
Yes, the Legend of Zelda Dragon Quest. You should play it. It's the turn-based Zelda game.
The Legend of Dragon Quest.
Well, if you think about it, in Dragon Quest, I'm not sure which one it is, one of the NES ones. But you know how in Zelda... No, crap.
I think I know what you're talking about.
No, it was Final Fantasy with the...
Oh, the tombstone?
Yes. The tombstone.
Yeah. Here lies Link. I swear one of them eventually said, "Here lies Erdrick."
I think the original Japanese was "Here lies Link," and then when it was localized, they did "Here lies Erdrick" as an homage to Dragon Warrior at the time.
And then, but I think later, like remakes have gone back to Link. Like I want to say, if you play it on the Switch store, it'll say Link now.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean,
yeah, they're not going to rip their own series now. It's one company.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, yeah, they were. What is it? Final Fantasy 1 came out after Dragon Quest 2 in Japan, at least. So
was it in development at the same time as 3? Because there's similar kind of class feel to both Final Fantasy 1 and Dragon Warrior 3.
Correct. Dragon
Quest 3.
Dragon Quest 3 in Japan and Final Fantasy 1. I want to say they were a couple months apart.
Okay.
I remember hearing that on a couple other different ones. I think Austin talked about it at one point, and they were like, "Well, which one came out?" And they looked it up, and they were like, "Oh no, Final Fantasy beat them by a couple months." But I mean,
they would have been
very similar. Yeah,
they would have been in development at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Definitely.
So I mean, when we talked about the spoiler, how you felt when you found out you were Erdrick. I kind of had I guessed because like right after you beat Baramos, you're dropped into a dark version of a left guard, and just hearing that music, you're like, holy crap, here I am back in a left guard. But nobody's taught, whereas originally everyone's talking about the descendant of Erdrick. Now nobody's saying anything about Erdrick. So that was kind of a first like major clue right there, So I wasn't actually surprised when they turn around and be like, you are Erdrick. It's like, all right, the Sword of Kings is not called Erdrick's Sword, and you're building it from scratch with Orichalcum. So, they drop a lot of hints about who you are in this game towards the end. So I wasn't completely shocked at that. What I thought was a little silly was that they call you Erdrick like a title. Like you were given the decree of Erdrick. I forget the exact like wording of it in the NES version, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know that, and I've heard debate about that too. Is it a title, or is it you get a completely new name?
Well, not to spoil something from another game, but that name comes up again
Right.
as a title. So it's I see it as a title,
Like an honorific.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you are now the Erdrick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Erdrick.
No. Congratulations, you are the Erdrick.
Right.
Save world, Had to go with English there for a minute. Sorry.
So, Ryu, what about you? Were you surprised when you found out that you were Erdrick?
I was and I wasn't. I'm like, yay! I'm a superhero now. And then
Someday I'll be in Smash.
And then as I saw the name pop up in later games, I'm like, huh.
Oh,
okay.
Did you play 3 first?
I played 1 first.
Okay.
And then I'm like, okay, so I'm Loto. Great. I never really played 2 until the mobile versions came out because I got pissed off at my 1 and 2 cartridge, as I spoke of earlier.
2 is a good one to get pissed off about. We always refer back to the unblockable death spells of Roan.
Goodbye, party.
All right, and I was very surprised. I played all of these as they came out in English, back in late 80s, early 90s. So, yeah, that was pretty, like, jaw-dropping for me at the end, like, holy crap. I have said it before, I am not the most cerebral of game players, so, Liam, you might have had it figured out. I was just like, wow, I'm back where I am. I've been here before, a couple other times in this world, and I wonder why I dropped here. Oh, let me go beat this guy.
Well, Reconary in a different position again.
Yeah. It's always in a different position.
Right. Well, then, I guess we talked about this before, but Builders kind of answers that. If Tempest and Reconary were destroyed so many times by monsters and just rebuilt, so it's feasible that in Dragon Warrior 2, suddenly Breckenary is like on the left side. It's like west of Tantagel. Whereas I think in the original game it was northeast.
It just makes me kind of wonder what they'll do eventually for the Dragon Quest 3s. I mean, for the Dragon Builders 3 eventually.
Oh yeah, Dragon Quest Builders 3. What could they do that they haven't done so far, though?
That's a good question.
Because the series itself starts with like the concept of, and I don't know if the answer is in 2, but the concept of like if you join the Dragon Lord in 1, and that happens after 3. So is 2, and maybe you guys, if you've played 2, Platty, you played 2 more than I have. Do you know if it's the same universe or as 1, or is it a separate timeline in general?
I mean, I beat it. But again, I guess I should go with my little asterisk. I'm not the most cerebral. It was set after the events of 2, just like the first one was set after the events of 1. Yeah. But whereas 1 was a what-if scenario, 2 was just, okay, the events of Dragon Quest 2 happened, and many years later, this was going on.
Okay, so there's no mention of the Builder in 1.
Yeah, so one was more like an alternate history. 2 was just a continuation.
All right.
So, I mean, Dragon Quest 3, I mean, they could really do whatever the heck they wanted if they focused on the original land.
Yeah.
Think about that. Maybe set it as a prequel to Dragon Quest 3 And
Three
at
is
the
so
end,
large, though.
maybe, but
Like,
yeah, you got the whole
you know,
world. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many towns and towers and castles and everything. So, like, how that would be a huge game if they were to try and fit all that in.
Maybe you start out as Ortega's dad,
Descendant of Ortega,
an ancestor of Ortega.
ancestor of Ortega.
So, and then that could flip it around instead of Dragon Quest Builders 1 being the after Dragon Quest 1 alternate whatever, and 2 following afterwards, but maybe 3 could be before even. Follow that prequel, kind of timeline. Not only is Dragon Quest 3 a prequel, but we're going to make Dragon Quest Builders 3 a prequel to a prequel.
All right, Square Enix, I hope you're listening and taking notes on this.
Yeah, I think I got lost in that one. You lost me when you start going pre-sequels, prequels. Yeah.
Right.
Just make a good game.
Maybe this is a good time to start wrapping it up then. Anybody want to, anything we didn't cover that anybody wants to say about Dragon Quest 3? You want to start off, Ryu? Kind of any last thoughts you have about the game?
Well, no spoilers, but I'm honestly really glad in the mobile versions they didn't take out all of the bonus content. To be perfectly honest, I'm one of the few people that hated the monster medals.
Well, I think we all.
Yeah. No, I hated them too.
And I hated the fact that the secondary super boss dungeon was locked by them.
Yeah, definitely. Because the RNG for generating getting a monster medal drop was just so god awful that to get all of those monsters, for anyone who actually did that and got to the bonus dungeon, you are a trooper.
No.
The grind is strong with you.
No, there's only one thing I can say for that. Nerd! To copy Team 4-Star there. Nerd!
I think that's the first nerding we've had on the podcast. Hopefully not the last.
I'm sorry, but I cannot imagine the kind of grinding that it would take to actually do that.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
everyone that did it used the Game Shark. You're lying if you didn't.
Imagine if it really was Redneck Pride and he just wanted to back out of having said that.
I said that, but man, I didn't do it.
I'm going to have to go scour the den and find out who that really was that said that. So I remember seeing that post and be like, oh man, that's never going to happen. No one's going to grind all gold monster medals legit without game sharking it.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, the two call-outs, this has my second favorite bit of music in it, which is the Phoenix Ramia theme, Heavenly Flight, which was reused in Dragon Quest VIII and I think a handful of other games, maybe Heroes 1.
I think like 11 kind of has a little bit of a remix of it, but again, there's people with better ears for music than I. But yeah, I love that song as well.
Yeah, and the other shout out is that my handle on the den, Liamland, actually comes from this game, because as I'm paging through the manual, all of a sudden I get to this frozen chunk of land where where rests the egg of the Phoenix Ramia, where you have to bring all of the orbs, and it's called Liamland. And I was like, wow, my name's in the game, and I like this game a lot. So
I never realized that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
years later, they got that.
Yeah. So years later, that became my my Dragon stem, and actually that was my old Enix forum back in the late '90s, early 2000s. That was my handle there too.
Yeah, I would just say, I think if you're telling newcomers which game to play, you tell them 11, 8. But I think you can fit 3 in there as well. It's a different kind of game from 8 and 11. With those ones, you have your pre-made characters and stuff like that. You have your skill trees, but I don't know. I just think 3 is really a unique one in the series, and really unique for its time. And I think it's definitely worth playing. Probably not the NES version.
Right.
If I had to recommend, the Game Boy Color. Maybe if you. Maybe do the Super Famicom. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them. But I would say probably Game Boy Color is the one to try.
I personally love the Super Famicom version, so I would say that just for the better, more enhanced graphics and monster animations.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that too.
But the easiest version to get if you own a Switch is probably going to be the Switch version. So
Yeah, and the cheapest too. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of repro cartridges for $3 on eBay and stuff like that, and the legit ones are getting up there in price. So yeah, definitely. And I mean, it seems like everybody's gonna have a Switch at some point. Hey, drop what, $12 on it? It's definitely worth a try.
Do you really mean that? Everyone's going to have a Switch at some point, even me?
I mean, so what? 45 million? I mean, I don't know. It seems like every time they announce new numbers, it's like, hey.
I'm just waiting for some available cash, which hasn't been around in a while. And then I was even looking recently to see if I could get maybe a secondhand one in Japan, see if it'd be cheaper. And
the 11 version one with the blue Joy-Cons, my God.
Oh,
I would love to have that.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That's kind of like buying 2 or 3 Switches to get that one, though.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
Alrighty, did you, Drippy? Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just again play Dragon Quest 3. Play Dragon Quest, but play Dragon Quest 3 in general.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's a really good one. Even as a starter, if you're looking for classic ones, I'd say 11 is a fantastic starter as well. But if you're looking for a more kind of traditional classic game, you can't go wrong with 3, 4, or 5 as a starter.
Oh, definitely.
Probably in that order. Exactly.
Woo, man! It is getting late.
Yep. And by the sound of the yawn.
Yep. That was perfectly well timed and not planned at all.
And now he's going to be editing until 2 in the morning.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Platy, you got 15 minutes to edit this thing.
Oh, geez.
12:45.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. This is it. This is the end of our episode of Slime Time number 9. We do want to thank DrippySlimeStar and Ryu, aka Matt Kraft, for joining us to talk about Dragon Quest 3.
Thanks so much, Drippy and Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was really fun doing this.
Yep, it really was. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Welcome back to Slime Time iteration. Next one.
Version 3.0.
Yep. We're on version 3.9. 3.09? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows how long we might go. We'll see. You might all have noticed out there that the only time we mention Patreon on here is when we say we don't use it. We are just some longtime fans that want to speak about the game series we know and love so much. If you have some money you would like to donate, though, consider sliding on over to the Dragon's Den at www.woodus.com/den and click on support this site. Big shout out recently to Frankie, who recently donated to the Den. Don't know, Frankie, if you did it because of us, but we like to think you are out there listening to us. Woodus has owned and maintained that Dragon's Den site for now 20 years, and he would appreciate any donation. You can also use his Amazon affiliate link to make purchases, especially for the most recent game, Dragon Quest 11S, perhaps any other game. He's got tons of them on there. If you go on the website, if you just look down the whole right side, he's got affiliate links to pretty much any game that you can still buy new from Amazon.
And if you are an advertiser and you're looking for a hip new podcast to spend lots of ad revenue on, reach out to us at slimetimepodcast@gmail.com. For example, this episode is brought to you by Unsolved Mysteries, a show that's been off the air for 20 years. If you have any comments or questions for us, you can find us on Twitter at Plattym3 or at RiamuCelestrian, or hit us up both simultaneously at DQ3. Consider joining in tons of DQ discussions at the Dragon's Den forums, one of the few remaining DQ forums still around. Find it from Dragon's Den main page at www.woodus.com/forums.
We'd like to thank everyone that made this possible, like Brian, a.k.a. Woodus, for his support of the series and this podcast, and keeping the Dragon's Den's lights on for decades.
Thanks to Amanda Lepre and the Descendants of Erdrick for allowing us to use their music for our podcast. Descendants of Erdrick is a video game tribute band from Austin, Texas. If you like what you've heard, check them out in their most recent album, Advent, on www.descendantsoferdrick.com or on Twitter at @DofErdrick, or go see their band leader Amanda Lepre live on tour as a guitarist for Andrew WK. If you're a fan of Descendants of Erdrick, also consider donating to help them get their touring band back up and running. They had some trouble with it lately and had to cancel some of their shows on their winter tour as a result. They're good people and doing good work, so feel free to head over to their site and donate if you want to help them get back on the road.
Our thanks also to Dwayne Bullock, our wonderful graphic artist and Dragon Quest fan, for making the awesome artwork cover for this podcast. Dwayne was on the original iteration of the Slime Time podcast, and he was on, I think episode 3. He was on a few episodes back. Episode 4. You can check out more of his work at Dwayne Art on Instagram or his website at dwaynebullock.bigcartel.com.
And if you're looking for more DQ podcasts, check out our earlier episodes on Dragon's Den, Anchor FM, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more. Please also check out our fellow Dragon Quest podcasts available like Puff Puff Hour and Dragon Quest FM.
Definitely. They're all doing great work. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
DQ Slime Time signing off.